Okay. So like I said, chapter 13 is considered to be a very important chapter. So why is it considered to be a very important chapter? So, I told you that Gita is 18 chapters, and some people, or many people, look at Gita as three sections of six chapters each. Shatkas, I think they call them, six chapters each. Um, and the first six chapters are about, if you think about Tattvamasi as the Mahavakya, it's about Tvam. It's about the individual, the Jiva. And everything, so, it talks about Jiva's Atma, that Jiva is the Atma. If you remember in chapter 2, they said that. Then they talk about how the Jiva can prepare himself through Karam Yoga and things like that. So there's a lot of emphasis. It's all about the Jiva. It's all about when Krishna Bhagwan is talking, he's not talking about himself. He's talking about the Jiva and what the Jiva can do. He's telling Arjun, you are not this body, you are the Atma, things like that. So the emphasis is all Jiva. And the idea is that it will tell you that your reality is not this body or this mind, your reality is Atma. That's the gist of the first six chapters. Then we went through the next six chapters, chapters 7 through 12. And there, actually, in chapter 7, right away, the language even changes. And Krishna Bhagwan is suddenly talking about himself. He says, Arjun asks him, and then he says, this is who I am. This is what I am. There are two kinds of knowledge. He starts in chapter 7, the Aparagyan and the Paragyan. The Aparagyan is, the lower knowledge. Paragyan is the higher knowledge. It's all about Ishwar. It's all about the world. The focus is about the world and Ishwar. And then in chapter 10 and 11, he talks about um, his Swarupa, as a Vibhuti, good and the bad, or the bad meaning, let's say, that as a destroyer in chapter 12. In chapter 11. In chapter 12, he talks about, bhakti, I surrender yourself to me. And, this is what you will get peace in return and things like that. Chapter 9 is almost a copy of chapter 7. They are basically saying the same thing, slightly different ways. Chapter 8 is about the journey of the soul from how you go through how you get reborn and things like that. So chapter 8 is a little bit of an anomaly, but essentially 7 to 12 is about Ishwar. And then 13 onwards, and pretty much actually 13 is the key chapter here, where he brings about a equation. He says, now Ishwar and Jiva are the same. So it's the Asi part of the Tattvamasi. So Tat was Ishwar, which is 7 to 12. Tvam is individual or Jiva 1 to 6. And Asi, which means are, you are, that means the equality, is the emphasis on the last chapters. And it's not that, it's not like that black and white, but you'll see that that's the general emphasis. But 13 is definitely about, the equation. So that's why they say 13 is a very important chapter, because it really gets to the core of Vedanta, or the core of the Gita. So what I'm going to do today is I just want to take you through the first 4-5 shlokas of chapter 13, and then next time we will get into more detail. So hopefully we'll cover this quickly, because you already know all this, But still, feel free to ask and question. I want to make sure we are all on the same page. So in 13, it starts by Arjun asking a question. That's always Arjun always asking a question, right? So he says here, and actually this particular shlok, 13.1 here, is in Swami Dayanand's book, it's 13.0, because this shlok was added later. Some versions of Gita don't have this shlok, and some versions have it. But it doesn't matter, it's just setting the stage. So it says, Arjun says, Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Kshetram Shretagnyam Evacha Etat Veditum Ichhami Jnanam Yeyam Cha Keshava. So what it means is Prakriti and Purush. This is Prakriti and Purush. And also Kshetram and Kshetragya. Kshetragya yeah, Kshetram and Kshetagnya. Etad Veditum Ichhami. I want to know this knowledge. What is Prakriti, what is Purush, what is Kshetra, and what is Kshetragnya? Jnanam, Gneyam cha Keshava. And also Jnanam and Neyam. So Jnanam and Neyam means, so there are three sort of pairs he's introducing. One is Prakriti and Purush, one pair. Then he's introducing a second pair, which is Kshetram and Shretagnyam, right? This is the topic of chapter 13, Kshetra Shretagnya Vibhag Yoga. So you can see here, right? And then the third he is introducing is Jnanam and Neyam, between Jnanam and Neyam. And he's asking, I need to know, tell me about these, tell me more about these. I wish to know. Ichhami means I want to know. Um, and what's the difference between them? Tell me more about them. So that's his question to Keshav. Keshav is Krishna. And then Sri Bhagwan Uvacha, matlab Krishna Bhagwan says, Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram iti abhidhiyate etadyoho veti tam prahu shretagya iti tadvidaha. So what he's saying is, Idam Shariram, this Sharir, Kaunteya means the son of Kunti, that means Arjun. Kshetram iti abhidhiyate is called the Kshetram. Kshetram means field. Etad yoho veti tam prahu. So etad yoho, both of these things, veti, to know. They say Shretagya, Shretagya iti tadvidaha. So one who knows this Kshetram is called the Shretagya. They call a person or something that knows the field as the knower of the field. So Kshetra means the field and Shretagnya means the knower of the field. Whenever you put a gya at the end, this near. Whenever you put this near at the end, it becomes the knower of. So Kshetra means the field and Kshetragya means the knower of the field. Okay. So basically, Arjun asked about these three pairs, but Bhagwan Krishna immediately went only to one pair, which is the Kshetra and Kshetagnya, which is this pair. And that's because basically they're the same. You can call them Purusha Prakriti, you can call them Neyam and Jnanam and Neyam, you can call them, Kshetra, Kshetragnyam. It's the same thing. And he explains that later. So this is what first Sri Bhagwan says. So he first introduces and tells him what is Kshetra and what is Shretagya. So what he's saying is that Kshetra is your body. This body is Kshetra, is the field. And the one who knows this body is the Shretagnya, is the knower of the field. So that's the first thing he says. He kind of defines the two. Then he goes on to say, Shretagnya chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra shretagya yoho jnanam yat tat jnanam matam mama, my vision. So this is supposed to be, by the way, a Mahavakya. So right away in chapter 7, the third shlok is a Mahavakya. Mahavakya means like Tattvamasi is a Mahavakya. Or Aham Brahmasmi is a Mahavakya. Brahmavakya means that statement, that Vakya, which relates me or you, the individual to Ishwar. Because that's the ultimate teaching of Vedant, of Advait Vedant. It is that you and Ishwar are one and the same. The essence of you and the essence of Ishwar is one and the same. So anything which directly says that or indirectly says that is a Mahavakyam. So Tattvamasi says it directly. This says it indirectly. And we'll see how it says it indirectly. So it says, may you know, so Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi. So Kshetragyam, so it's easier to just kind of read it from here. May you know me as the knower of the body in all bodies. So, when he says Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata, Sarva Kshetreshu means in all bodies. right? And Mam Vidhi, know me as the knower, Shretagya, of all bodies. That which is the knowledge of the body and of the knower of the body is true knowledge. This is my vision. So this is that's why he's saying Kshetra Shretagya Yoho Jnanam Yat Tat Jnanam Matam Mama. So that's what it means. It like Kshetra or Shretagya, इन दोनों का ज्ञानम, इन दोनों का ज्ञान, yat, that, tat jnanam, that jnanam, yat means that and tat means that. Yat means which, that which, and tat means that. Jnanam matam mama is my vision. So okay, I'm going to stop here. Enough of Sanskrit. But so why is this a Mahavakyam? So actually, if you first expand this one, what he's really saying is that the knower of the field is Atma. And in the commentary, this is explained. So if you say that the field is this body as an individual, we already kind of went through this earlier, through earlier chapters. I am not the body, right? I am the Atma. So that we already have established. So what it's trying to say that the field is the body and the knower of the field is Atma. And then it's saying, Bhagavan is saying, I, Mam, know me as the knower of all the fields, of every body. Sarva Kshetreshu, meaning all the people's bodies, I am the knower of the field. So he's first we are saying that the knower of the field is Atma. Then he's saying Ishwar is the knower of the field, knower of all fields. So that equates Ishwar to the individual, to the Atma, in an indirect way. That's why this is a Mahavakya. Okay.
Well,
You can see.
but the initially when he said Atma is the knower of the fields, it was just for my. It was not implied that has it already been said in the
Yeah,
Gita that
yeah, the whole
Atma
of
is
the
the knower
Gita,
of all.
chapter 2, chapter 3, all that he's been saying
No,
that
no,
no,
that Atma is the knower of all bodies,
no,
not
no, no,
just
no. It
one body.
says you are Atma,
Yeah,
correct? So the knower of the field, so the person who actually knows this body is you, not not the body itself.
right,
This is also not 100% accurate because what you are, you can even go beyond that and say, I'm not even the knower. I am the consciousness.
right.
But for the purposes of explanation in the Gita, for most people, it stays here and says you are the knower. It's just easier to understand. And then later on, it'll even go and say you're not even the knower. But it's trying to say that through that, it's trying to explain because it's saying you are the knower of your body because you're Atma. You are not the body, you're the Atma. And Atma is what? You did that Vrigdrishya Viveka. Atma is the one that knows this body. Why do I say that I'm not this body? Because I know this body. Because I can see the body, I can feel the body, right? I know it. That's why I'm not this body. I never know something which I am. I can only know something which I'm not. So I know this computer, I know Gita, I know all these things. That means I am not those things. So I know my body, that's why I'm not the body. So that we've already established in all the chapters so far, in all discussions and everything. So what am I? I am the knower of the body, I'm not the body. That's just another way of saying Atma. But what he's saying then in chapter 3 is, in the stroke 3, in this one is that know me, that means know Bhagwan Krishna, that means know Ishwar as the knower of all bodies. Sarva Kshetreshu. So Kshetra is what body? Sarva Kshetreshu means in all the bodies. This little thing here, shu, whenever you add a shu in the end, it basically means in. This is just a Sanskrit way of Sanskrit. So Sarva Kshetreshu means in all the Kshetras. So know me as the knower in all bodies. That's the key thing he's saying. So you are the knower of your body. You can say, yes, I understand. Kiki is the knower of her body. Rajiv is the knower of his body. And Atul is the knower of his body. That is understood. This is, and he reminds us here. He just says, the Kshetra, instead of saying body, I'm going to call it Kshetra. Instead of saying Atma, I'm going to call it Kshetagnya. That means the knower. So, knower of the field, Kshetra, and the knower of the field. He just defines it as that. Just a definition. But you know that you are the knower of your body. But what he's saying here now is know me as the knower of, as the knower in all the bodies. So even in your body, when you say, I am the knower in the body, like Atul is saying, I am the Atma, I am the knower of this body, Atul. He's saying that also is me. Not just you are, that Atma is not just the knower of Atul's body, that Atma is the knower of all bodies, which means that Atma and Ishwar are the same thing. Now, Atul's mind may not grasp it, may not understand it, may not realize it. Atul's mind may still think, no, 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 my Atma knows only my body because I know only my body. But that's not the Atma knowing, that's the mind knowing. Atul's mind knows only his body. That is true. And Sanjay's mind knows only Sanjay's body. That is also true. But when you come to the Atma, which is the actual knower, that is the same. That's why this is called uh, a Mahavakya. I know it's complicated. I wish I could make it easier. Maybe there's a way to make it easier. I should have thought about it. But that's what it's trying to say. And then later on, he goes on and says he expands the field, the Kshetra. Because in the beginning, he had said the Kshetra is only the body. Then he says the five subtle elements, the Hiranyagarbha, Samashta Buddhi, unmanifest cost, Maya, 10 organs, blah, 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 all the things. He's saying everything, the whole world is Kshetra. Not just the body, but actually the whole universe is Kshetra. And the other thing that he is doing by implication is he's saying that your body, this body which you are a knower of, is nothing but part of the universe. So there is a kshetra, there is a field which needs to be known. That's what this means. Jnanam neyam. Jnanam means that the knowledge. Neyam means that which needs to be known, which ought to be known, which should be known. That's what neyam means. Jnanam means knowledge. So neyam is the field, is the kshetra, that which should be known. In the beginning, he introduced by saying it's your body because it's easy to kind of say, I know my body. Later on, he said in this here, in these two verses, right? He's saying everything is Kshetram. The subtle elements, the Hiranyagarbha, the Samashta Buddhi, the unmanifest cause, 10 organs, blah, blah, blah. The Hiranyagarbha means basically the whole universe. Everything is the field. And he's included our body as part of that field. So he's saying this body, which we think is me, is actually not you. It's actually part of the universe. It's one with the universe. There's really no distinction between the body and the universe. It's completely connected. Everything the body is composed of nothing but elements of the universe. You have made a mistake of assuming that what you are is this body. And then you made a distinction, therefore, between the body and the universe. Oh, this is the body and this is the rest of the universe. My limit is this body and the rest of the universe is not me. That's done by you. That's a mistaken categorization done by you. In reality, he says, you are the knower of the field, and the field is everything else. The body, he has said, is not connected, is not part of you. It's part of the universe. It's part of the name. It's part of that which needs to be known, not part of the knower. We said that the body is, we think that the body is part of the knower. When I think about the knower as me, I think this body, this mind, this Atma, everything is me. This whole composite is the knower. And what is the known to be known is the rest of the universe around me has to be known. I have to know about the stars and I have to know about the earth and I have to know about everything else. I have to know about other people. The rest of the universe is the field that has to be known. And I am the knower. But Krishna Bhagwan is saying no. First, he said the body is the field. And then he expanded it to say that the body is actually part of the whole universe. Body is also not you. It's not the knower. It is the thing that has to be known. What is the knower is your Atma. And that Atma is no distinct, no different from Ishwar. That's what this one is saying. That knower, which you think is which I'm saying is the Atma first to you. Here it says knower is the Atma. Then it says know that knower, know me as the knower, as knower of all the bodies. That means that Atma is equal to me. So it's a roundabout way of saying what I just said or what you already know, I think. It's a roundabout way of saying it. But, Gita is trying to say things in different ways, whichever way it clicks with people.
So meaning we should not get, like in my mind, of course, the thing that comes to mind is, Atma is Brahman, Atma is not Ishwar, because Brahman and Ishwar are distinct from each other. But you're saying don't get hung up on that.
No, no, no. Actually, we should talk about that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Q&A because of Sanjay's question. Atma and Brahman and Ishwar are not distinct from each other. Brahman and Ishwar are exactly the same.
Well, that's the same as saying I am exactly the same.
No, 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 no. No, we'll cover that in the Q&A. So now after this we'll go there. Ishwar is just Saguna Brahma, and Brahman, when you say Brahman, it means Nirgun Brahman. That's all.
But okay. Like you said earlier, Atma is not meant to be a knower. Consciousness is not meant to be a knower.
It's not meant to be a knower. The reality of the knower is also consciousness.
Yes.
Anything, I mean, did you follow? Let me just ask, Rajiv, Atul, Sanjay, did you follow the logic here?
I mean, from my perspective, this is what we have been learning over and over again.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's just a little bit of change in terminology of bringing the idea of a field and the knower of the field, right?
Yes.
But this is being repeated over and over again.
Yes.
I think the other thing that is new here is maybe a little bit more focus on the body being also part of the universe. So,
Yes.
it's just another, I would say, you know,
Different emphasis.
its proximity is pretty close to, what we've been talking about, but this is more explicit. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Sanjay, what about you?
Yeah, another new point which has been added that we are part of the universe, part of the whole scenario. And what you have talked is this is another route to reach Mount Everest.
Yes. Another route to
Mm.
another way to think about it.
Yeah,
Atul, what
the
about
goal is
you?
the same. What they
Sorry.
want to convey is the same,
Yeah.
but through a different channel and different wordings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
different wordings and slightly different
slightly.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
very slightly.
including the jiva into the I think fabric.
Yes, they're including Jiva into the universe, into the fabric, into Ishwar, or into this world, and saying that that makes it even more explicit that you are not the
Yeah,
Jiva. The body. They're including the body into that. So they're trying to say that the body is also part of that stuff which needs to be known. So he's saying, think about the world in two ways: that which needs to be known and that which knows, which is the knower. So it's saying that break your idea of you, break it up into two. the body which you thought was you is actually not you. Move that from the column of the knower to the column of that which needs to be known with the rest of the world. And you, which you think are the knower, right? Combine that with Ishwar, which is the knower in all bodies. So basically, it's dissolving the jiva in a way. It's saying jiva ko, it's broken it up and said one part of it is the body. The body goes with the universe which needs to be known. The other part of it is the Atma. The Atma goes with Ishwar, who knows not just this body, but all bodies, everything, who's the knower in all bodies. So it's a different way of saying the same thing, but emphasizes it a little bit. You'll get a little more insight. You'll get a little more knowledge.
Dheeraj, one other corollary I was thinking about was the fact that, you know, the he's the, Brahman or Atman is the knower of um, the body in all bodies, also, reinforces Advait, right? Um, there's only one Brahman, right? Or
Yes,
one Ishwar, right?
yes,
So I
absolutely.
can see that as well from this.
Absolutely, very true. And that's why this is called a Mahavakya. This one. It's called a Mahavakya because here it's saying this Sharir, Idam Shariram. No, sorry, not this one. This one. Sorry.
Next one, yeah,
Yeah.
you may know me as a knower of the body in
All
all body.
the knower in all bodies.
Yeah.
So Chaitagyam, know me as the knower in all bodies. So this is Advait Vedanta. That's why it is. That's why it is Mahavakya.
Mahavakya.
Mahavakya is equal to Advait Vedanta.
Mhm.
Because the Dvait Vedantins will never agree with this Mahavakya. Because Dvait think that Ishwar is separate and the individual is separate. So they won't understand why is Krishna Bhagwan saying that know me as the knower in all bodies. They'll make another interpretation of it. They'll say, okay, maybe in addition to me, he knows all the bodies also. I know my body, he knows all the bodies. But the way this is coming across, or the way Advait Vedanta would interpret it, is to say when the Ishwar is the knower in all bodies, that means it is saying Ishwar is the same as Atma. Because Atma is the ultimate knower in my body. When we say Atma, it means me. So everybody will say, my Atma is the knower in all bodies. You will say, my Atma is the knower. No, in your body. You will say, my Atma, so Rajiv's Atma is the knower of Rajiv's body. Sanjay's Atma is the knower of Sanjay's body. Dheeraj's Atma is the knower of Dheeraj's body. Right? So that much we follow, we get it. But it's saying, no, know me, Ishwar, as the knower in all bodies.
All bodies, yeah.
So the knower in Sanjay's body, which you thought was Atma of Sanjay, is nothing but Ishwar. And the knower in Rajiv's body, which Rajiv thought was Rajiv's Atma, is nothing but Ishwar. So this is a very explicit statement which supports or which talks about Advaita Vedanta. And because it relates Ishwar to the individual, that's why it is a Mahavakya. Like any other Mahavakya. There are multiple Mahavakyas. Every Upanishad has multiple Mahavakyas. But they just took four and said those are the four big Mahavakyas. The teaching of Upanishad gets completed through Mahavakyas. That's why Advait. If Mahavakyas were not there, we wouldn't have Advait Vedanta. You could have all other things. You could have Dvait, you could have every other thing, but you won't have Advait Vedanta.
No, is it correct to say that Dheeraj Atma is the knower of Dheeraj's body?
That's what we
Is,
think. That's what Dheeraj
is
thinks.
Atma the knower?
No, that's that's what I was telling Kiki also. That is true. In fact, so Gita has taken a little bit of, you should say, poetic liberty because it's trying to explain, right? So it's called the knower. But later on, Gita also says that no, the Atma is just pure consciousness. It's not really the knower.
It's not really the knower, yeah.
No. Yeah, that's true. But you have to explain to people The thing about Gita is it tries to say in very simple.
Pehले first you have to understand yourself to explain to other people.
Yes, then so Gita is trying to explain, right? So
Ah,
it's going, so it's taking a few liberties, but you're right, absolutely, that you are not the knower. The knower is actually, and if you were the knower, then this statement would not have been true, right? Because
yeah.
if you were Ishwar, you would have said then, hey, I don't know Atul's body, I don't know Dheeraj's body. How can
Hmm.
I be Ishwar? Because when you say no, by no, you have a particular connotation with no, a particular experience. So if
Hmm.
you limit yourself to that, you'll never be able to say Ishwar equals, you understand? Ishwar equals individual.
Hmm.
I think that the context is so important in all interpretations.
Well, it comes if you keep reading the whole thing one in sequence, you get more context.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But if you just take something out in
Un-
isolation,
yeah. It's called anuvriti. This is something I'm learning these days. Anuvriti means you take the particular shlok will not say everything.
yeah,
Uh, the context which has been given in the previous ones is assumed,
that makes so much sense.
right? Okay. So I think this is good for right now
Hmm.
in terms of this chapter 13. Is still recording? I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So now, so Kiki's, I did want to talk about Sanjay's and Kiki's question, which is what is the difference between Ishwar and Brahman? What is Ishwar and what is Brahman? Right? That was your.
Hmm. Query.
So
Hmm.
there is really no difference. So you remember we talked about substance and form,
Hmm.
right? We said you can't have form without substance. You
Hmm.
can't have substance without form. So really speaking, you can never say that there is a Brahman with no Ishwar. It it doesn't. It means nothing. It's not. It doesn't exist. Brahman, who we define as Satchitananda, the consciousness alone and nothing else, has a capacity, and that capacity is called knowledge. It has that capacity, and I'll tell you the best way to think about it is your own mind. So you think about your own self, and imagine you can imagine things, right? You can think, you can imagine, you can picture, you can create things in your mind. And in fact, they say that the mind, you can have a situation where you have no mind, meaning nirvikalpa samadhi. There is no vritti in your mind at all. There is nothing happening, and you are just pure consciousness. And that is impossible. Not only is it difficult, it's impossible. What happens is, like for example, deep sleep. They could say that in deep sleep there is no vritti. It's true. At a superficial level, there is no vritti when you're in deep sleep. But actually, there is a unmanifest vritti. There's unmanifest knowledge. Because if there was nothing, if there was no knowledge in you, you'd never get out of deep sleep. You've gone to deep sleep, then it's over. But you still get out as Sanjay or Rajiv or whatever. The same person who had gone into deep sleep comes out as the same person. So there is some continuation which is there in deep sleep also. And that is called an unmanifest knowledge. So when we say this world exists and Brahman exists, this world is nothing but Brahman. Brahman along with manifest knowledge. It's manifested itself in all these the creatures and things that you see around this beautiful universe, bad universe, whatever. It's manifested. And when it's unmanifest, that means all of this goes away. That's called pralay. All of it goes away, it gets unmanifest. Then you can say there's Brahman alone. But no, it's Brahman with unmanifest knowledge. The knowledge is still there because that Brahman creates the world all over again. So there's a cycle of creation, and nothing gets destroyed. Nothing gets created, nothing gets destroyed. So Brahman is just a concept for us to understand what, you know, just for us to make a initial distinction. Okay, there's something called Brahman, there's something called substance, and there's something called form. Just so that we can distinguish between them, we are kind of defining them, showing how they're different. And then we are saying one doesn't exist without the other. Can you imagine form without substance? Likewise, can you imagine substance without form? Neither, both of them require each other. Similarly, what exists, what is really there, is Ishwar. The substance of Ishwar is Brahman. Yes, you can call it that if you want to break up into substance and form. But what exists is Ishwar. We say what exists is Brahman, that's fine too. But that is the existence behind Ishwar. That's the substance. But there's no real difference between Ishwar and Brahman. Brahman is a conceptual idea. When we say, okay, all forms have gone, all that remains is this consciousness. It's just a concept. Doesn't really that you can't have just that consciousness because that consciousness has knowledge. It's the tatashta is the word. It's one of the properties or one of the incidental properties of that consciousness. It has knowledge, and that knowledge will either be manifest or unmanifest. You can't devoid it of knowledge. It's just a concept. And when you think about that consciousness and knowledge together, we call it Ishwar. Knowledge or Maya, whatever you want to call it. No, I can make out that I'm not really got across properly. But please ask, what did you not follow? Kiki, does it answer your question?
No, my question was different.
Okay, what was your question? Sorry,
Yeah, I
sorry.
mean, but just to follow up on this is, to think of this is an old question, but just to think of bare awareness as inherently having a property of knowledge.
Yeah.
Then why do we talk about bare awareness? Then why not just
This
just
is
say, okay, there is some underlying knowledge in the universe.
no,
Just talk
because you have to
about
first understand what this bare awareness is. Otherwise, you won't, you know, you have to, when you're doing geometry, when you're learning geometry, they tell you about a circle and a point and a line. It's an imaginary concept, a circle. That means the circle has no thickness. Doesn't exist in life. There's nothing called a circle in life. You can't have a line with no thickness. So there's nothing called a line in life.
Yeah. But I'm saying,
To understand it, you have to first go there. So you're talking about a bare line. A bare line is a line without any width, any thickness. Just that's why we are saying bare awareness. We are trying to understand what that could mean. Then we are saying in reality there's no such thing. Awareness only comes with knowledge. It has a thickness to it. That knowledge is there. That's Ishwar.
I think the struggle,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a lot about consciousness, awareness, right? I think the struggle always is, those concepts can't be, there are no words to describe it, right? And so we struggle with that. I mean, there's no words in the language. I sit down and think about awareness, right, and try to differentiate rest of who I am from awareness, and it's like the only being an engineer, right? The only other way to think about it is okay, electricity, right? It just flows. There's some energy, right, that flows through, right? And you can kind of relate to that, but it's hard to relate to consciousness
Yeah.
naturally, I
And
think.
actually, that's the thing. When you think about electricity, in the beginning, you'll think about it as something, a pure flow of energy.
Yeah.
But that's not really the case. Electricity is transfer of energy between electrons, right? There's no such thing. So that's why I'm saying it's the same analogy here. We think about pure awareness without any form, but isn't really is isn't really the way it is. This pure awareness without any form cannot exist by itself without any form. I mean, it can. Whether you not exist, those words are very dicey to use. But what you have to say is that pure awareness, it's what is it actually? Its Swarupa, they say, is consciousness, is Chit. That means it's just pure awareness. When you say Chit means awareness, nothing else.
Yeah.
So when you say pure awareness, it means Swarupa is Chit, it's awareness. But it has an incidental property. The incidental property is knowledge, Maya. It has the ability to project, it has the ability to think, it has the ability to create. That is what is the fundamental, that's what's fundamental in this world. So if you're thinking about what's the fundamental building block of this earth, of this creation, of this world, everything, of you, that is the fundamental building block. It is the pure awareness whose Swarupa is Chit. That means it is awareness, but it has an incidental property, and that incidental property is Maya or knowledge or the ability to create. That's the building block. You can't break it up. You can't say, okay, I want to break the Maya apart and the Chit apart. I want to remove the Maya from this fundamental building block and be left with pure awareness. You can't do that because there is nothing called what will you remove? You know, you can't. You're trying to say I'm going to remove a form from the substance. How can you do that? You have a gold bangle. You're trying to say I'm going to remove the bangle from the gold. You can replace it
Yeah.
with another form. The two are completely
But
different levels of reality.
they do say that the form can be manifest or unmanifest, right? You yourself just said, Pralay.
Yes, form
There's
can be manifest or unmanifest. Absolutely.
Okay, so can I ask my question now?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, Rajiv, did you have any?
No. Please go ahead. No, I'm fine.
Okay. So my question was about the relationship with Ishvara, or even to think, if you think about Ishvara objectively as the manifest knowledge, all the manifest knowledge there is, then there doesn't have to be uh, where does the devotional aspect, the emotional and the devotional aspect that human beings have towards Ishvara, that is not, where does that come in? Like all the pure hellish suffering in this world is part of that knowledge. All the suffering that we go through as individuals, that humanity goes through, that's all part of this manifest knowledge.
Right.
And all the joy is also part of that knowledge. So why does there have to be any think of Ishwar only in the grace aspect? Why would that, where does that relationship
But
come in?
who's saying
That
that?
only for the benefit of
No,
a
no, no,
person?
no, no. Nobody's saying that you should think of Ishvara only in the grace aspect. You have to think of Ishvara as everything. What
No,
it's
no, I mean, like even in the thing that you sent, right? That was my question about the doc that you sent about Ishvara. That you
so what nobody's asking you to think about Ishvara is only in the good aspect. What it's saying is consider everything as grace, as prasad of Ishwar. So when you get the good, that's also Ishwar. When you get the bad and the suffering, that's also Ishwar's prasad.
also like big deal. So what do you get out of this knowledge then?
Which knowledge?
About the knowledge of Ishvara then. Okay, fine. I am part of, it may as well just be in the matrix. Like I may as well just be in the matrix
Well, I
then.
mean, if that's what works for
It
you,
doesn't
that's
work.
fine.
I'm just saying, but that's kind of how it is. Like if you objectively just think of it like that,
But are you able to think about these things objectively and live your life on a day-to-day basis? Are you able to objectively say this is how it
whether or
is,
not
and
I'm
you're
able
just
to,
coasting through life and all
okay,
the
no,
bad
no,
things? Huh?
no,
Yeah.
but that doesn't just be, whether or not I have the ability to do it doesn't take away from the questions that I have, right? It doesn't invalidate the question whether
No,
I
no, I'm
have
not
the emotional
invalidating the
maturity or
question.
not to think
I'm
about it.
not. The two are very different things. If you're talking about knowledge, if you're talking about objective reality, right? That's
Yeah,
what we just discussed.
right.
The problem is that in this class right now, we can understand that objective reality. But when we actually go out and live our life, we are not able to bring that knowledge to bear. If something bad happens to us, we can't suddenly say, oh, this is Ishwar's, this is just part of Ishwar. I'm still Atma, I'm fine, nothing will happen to me. I'll just go on this life, coast along, good and bad keep happening. We are not able to do that. If
And
you're
so
able to do
therefore,
that, then more power to you.
okay,
If
okay.
you're,
But if you're not able to
okay,
do
hold
that,
on,
then
let me finish. If you're not able to do that, if you're not able to do that, then Vedant is saying, we understand, let me give you some techniques which will help you get to a place where your mind is stronger. The reason why you're not able to do that is because you don't have strength of mind right now. Your mind is weak. Everybody's mind is weak. It's not just you, Kiki, all of us. So Vedant is giving some techniques for strengthening the mind. How do you think about how do I make the mind stronger? One of those techniques is devotion to Ishwar. So if that technique works for you, very good. If it doesn't work for you because you think it is just fraud, this is like I can't make believe. This is make believe.
yeah,
It doesn't work for me. Then
yeah.
don't go for it. Go for what works for you. Maybe some meditations work for you. Maybe something else works for you. That's totally fine. It's totally optional. Knowledge is what's not optional. Knowledge is what it is, the fact. These techniques are purely optional.
But everyone stresses the technique of a devotional personal relationship with Ishvara, right? Carol does. Every Swamiji
But
maybe.
everyone means like, I mean, I don't think Atul does, just to give you an example amongst the five of
But
us.
Atul doesn't know.
Yeah, huh?
Atul
Atul, do
doesn't have
you?
knowledge. Like, why would I think about what Atul thinks? Sorry, sorry. I
No,
just
no.
mean,
I mean, no. What I mean to say is, it doesn't work for everybody. Even I am not a very devotional person, right? But if you're saying only about people with knowledge, I mean, that's just. I'm sure there are people who. I mean, if you listen to many other people like Francis Lucille and things like that, which I have listened to a lot, they don't talk about Ishwar and devotion to Ishwar. It just so happens that we come from a culture where God is a big thing. It's like we've been whether we like it or not, we've been exposed to God, 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 and we all have some idea in our head about God. So it's saying, okay, let me leverage that. Since you already have some faith in God, you already have some capital invested in God, some emotional capital. Let me let me leverage that and help you get a stronger mind going from there. But it is absolutely, I mean, all these things that Kiki, I can tell you, Vedant says they're totally optional. What you do, what work is totally optional. What is not optional is to get strength of mind. That is not optional. Because then what will happen is you will have two lives. One life is when you are in class and listening to this, and another life is your real life. And you will things may over time may get worse rather than getting better. Because then Vedanta can be used as a crutch, as a means to not take action that you need to take in your life. That's really
yeah.
bad.
I think for me personally, the issue is more that when things are challenging, then I can't like it's very difficult for me to relate to Ishwar as just all grace when I know that that's like in my mind, I think that's just I
But
don't buy
but
it.
I'm telling you, this is a particular thing with you that Ishwar is all grace. Ishwar is not all grace. That is not the technique.
Okay, so is that not normally, am I saying something absurd? Is that not normally how people
If
think of?
you can ask, if you can ask Carol if you want, because
No, no,
she.
no, I know.
No, no,
In
no, no. I'm
fact,
saying just to give you another point of view. When we say Ishwar Prasad Buddhi, to say it's all grace is like nothing. You welcome everything from Ishwar if it's all good things. Ishwar Prasad Buddhi means take the bad from the Ishwar as Ishwar's Prasad. Take the suffering that you're getting from the world as Ishwar's Prasad. That's what Prasad Buddhi means. That's the power of Ishwar Prasad Buddhi. And that's not easy to do, but that's a technique.
but it's a technique that you know you're using as a technique. Like it's a technique that you know, oh, I'm using this ploy, but I know it's a ploy. Then it's hard to use a ploy when you know it's a ploy. You
Well,
know what I
what
mean?
works for
Like,
you?
I don't know. That's the problem.
Okay.
I think the issue may be that ever since we are born, and it's the background information that we get about Ishwar or God is that whenever all the good things come from there, whenever there is a bad thing, we're not that taught that that also comes from there. What we're taught is go back and pray to God and ask Him for forgiveness, or change the result somehow, right? So I think that's maybe at play here, right? Is some of that we always think about God when we are in trouble. Some people think about God, when you're going through a positive cycle. But we never taught that trouble is also prasad. So that's also part of the game. Keep on doing actions and leave the results to Ishwar.
And actually, I was thinking about it. It's not really a ploy. What's a ploy is all you've done is you've personalized Ishwar. But Ishwar is not a ploy. I think that's a so
Ravi,
I have to,
no,
I want to make sure I understand.
yes,
Ishwar is real.
yes,
I don't
Okay.
think that's not what she's saying.
yeah,
My interpretation. I'm going to jump in because
Yeah, yeah.
what you said, Nidhi, and what Rajiv said, I've been thinking along in something similar. I mean, in fact, this is sort of, I'm going to throw in my question not because I want to sort of hijack the
Just go
conversation,
for
but
it.
because I think it sort of adds to it. So when I was listening to I think the last one, the one before 2 weeks ago, from 2 weeks ago, I think it was that one. But again, I've been watching so many videos. The doubt I had, or the question that arose in my head was that, see, I understand the concept of Isha Prasad Buddhi. In fact, I kind of follow that without all this,
Yeah.
Vedanta thing. But in one of your videos, and maybe it was a family group video also, so I may be mixing things. You talked about there are two ways to think of. Somebody asked the question of Krishna as to who do you put at a higher pedestal? Somebody who believes in you all the time, or somebody who comes to, there was some kind of a conversation along those lines. So again, my question was not so much as to those two rankings, but the very fact that that question is being even asked, that which one is being ranked higher, or who do you love more?
Right. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. That to me it's almost against the concept of Ishwar Prasad Buddhi, because Ishwar Prasad Buddhi says take it as it comes, the
Yes.
good, the bad, the ugly,
Yeah.
as opposed to sort of saying I need to go from this angle, from this line of worship to this line of worship,
Yeah.
because that suggests that I'll get a sweeter laddu on the other side.
Yes. No. Ishwar Prasad Buddhi means, yeah, exactly. So no, that is, I mean, I don't remember exactly what it was, but
I get
your
that.
your understanding is totally right. There's no, these sometimes, in Gita too, you'll find all this. Sometimes it starts talking at a very low level because that's or an incorrect level. Like for example, here,
Mhm.
right? It said, Atma is the knower. We know Atma is not the knower. It's the pure consciousness, right? But it still says it's a knower because it's trying to explain something. So it assumes that the teacher will clarify this, this kind of thing.
And actually, on that point,
Yeah.
and today's conversation is actually, I think, almost like an exhibit A of this. So when I try to answer the question, am I confused? Like you're asking the question, are you clear? Are you confused? So my answer to that question is, it is confusing, but I'm not confused.
Okay, good. That's very good. I know exactly what you mean. And because it's trying, you're not confused because you know what you know, but now you got to go back and relate what this is saying to how you know it.
Yeah, it's almost like I see the weeds and I'm stepping away from that,
Yeah,
So it's
totally.
confusing,
Yeah.
but I'm not confused, at least not
That's
yet,
good. That's very good. But on the Ishwar part, I just want to go back. The What you have to believe or what you have to know, this is knowledge, not belief, that there is order in this world. Do you know that? Would you agree with that there's order in this world?
Yes.
You
High
know,
degree of
right? I mean,
high
there
degree
are
of intelligence
laws. There are
laws.
laws which we are uncovering every day, new laws, but there is order. You can
I
see
don't know if
how.
I would.
Okay.
I feel again, the headline is yes, I agree that there is order in the world, but I also feel that what we consider disorder, it's it's our lack of appreciation for what is actually orderly. But we
Absolutely.
view it as
That's why I said I never said is there disorder in this world. I said is there
yeah,
order
yeah,
in this world. Uh,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So,
that
so
the more we
at
know,
the
the more
ultimate level,
order we
there is
uncover.
order.
Yeah.
It may look like disorderly to us,
In
but
places, yeah,
it's our
but it's all
weakness
order.
as opposed to
We don't have the
yeah.
knowledge of Ishwar to say, or if I may use the word lightly, to know, right? But there is order. What Vedant is asking you and what Gita is
Hierarchy.
asking you to know, is to appreciate is don't take this order for granted. We take this order for granted. The fact that I'm going to be born and then I'm going to grow up, I just take it for granted. Every day I'm breathing and all systems are working, we take it for granted. The world is moving around, planets are moving around the sun, we just take it for granted. Don't take it for granted. That order, that order sort of indicates intelligence. That's what intelligence is. Even the fact that you can think intelligently is an orderly behavior, which has come from the intelligence in this world. Don't take your own intelligence also for granted. That intelligence is Ishwar. That you have to understand. If you understand that, that means you understand Ishwar Prasad Buddhi. Because if you understand that intelligence is there, that intelligence is what is giving you what you think are results. You're doing something, you're getting a result. It's an interplay of what you're doing with that intelligence. That's all Gita is telling you, or Vedanta is telling you to appreciate.
Mm.
Know that. And to know that, you do need some strength of mind. Why you need strength of mind is because what happens is, what does strength of mind even mean? When we are in a calm environment like this, everything is fine, we can appreciate these things. We can understand the logic. But the moment something threatens our, our individuality, our concept of ourselves, all of this goes out of the window. Our mind takes over our buddhi. Our frustrations, our agitation takes over our buddhi. We forget everything. That's what weakness is. That's a weak mind. So you need a mind which can tolerate a little bit of hits. So understand this, accept this, bring a little, I might even add humility to this. Appreciate that you individually, each one of us has a distance to cover. We are not there. That's all Ishwar Prasad Buddhi in a very different way.
That's very nicely put. So that at least makes total sense to me. I
But that
agree.
is what else is there. What does it mean if I say if you can think about it like this every time, or you can say all of that is personified in a figure called Krishna or something else. You either way, it makes some people, for you, maybe you think about every time something happens, you'll go through this whole process and think.
Yes, that's what I do.
Right. But for some people, they don't have to do that. They they have already understood this intuitively and put that whole picture as God and put it in an idol or not in an idol, whatever, and call it God, whatever way you define it. And then they say, yeah, God does it. What's the difference? Just because you think through it and somebody else has not thought through it and done it intuitively, what's the difference? It's the same thing.
Maybe I haven't got there yet. I mean, maybe that's true.
So that's the way I see it anyway. The whole idea is at the end of the day, is your mind stronger or not? That is the most important thing.
Yeah.
That's, I think, the most important thing, and there we should strive to attain that mental strength to be calm in all the situations and reflect where we go wrong. Every time we go wrong, we have to reflect on that and try to make our minds and behavior stronger in a more positive way.
Yeah, that's another way to do it. That's another, I mean, it's all the same thing. Your emphasis is a little different.
Yeah.
And we all have our own ways of dealing with things. We all have our own ways to emphasize. I know a lot of people who just who don't want to go through all this. They just say, okay, no, 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 forget all that. At the end of the day, what you're saying, I'm saying the same thing. There is a God. There's an Ishwar. Whether that's a individual or whether that's this whole power, nobody actually thinks of God as an individual. Nobody's thinking there's a actual individual over there. They also know that there is no such individual, but they are willing to say, I don't need to get that totally clear in my head. I just know that there's a God. What it is, whether it's an energy, individual, intelligence, this, that, I don't care. And I can relate with that God. That's a wonderful thing if you can do it, in my opinion, because it gives you strength. Anyway, so that's what I kind of had a feeling that this confusion would be there, both about Ishwar and Brahman, and also this. So just and Gita is very big on this. I mean, and there are other places also where it says recognize. It talks about ecology, um, how to relate to this world. Dharma is the same thing. Dharma is defined as relating to the world in a way which supplements the order of the world rather than destroys the order of the world. That is dharma. So you relate in a way. So there's a social order. There's a way in which the world progresses, the world goes. There's a social order. So work with the world in a way which is aligned with that social order, ethical order, all these orders. That is dharma. So why is it's bad to steal? It's not like we just why? Because it instead of promoting the order, it disrupts the order. There's an orderly way of doing things. This is how the society has evolved. But otherwise, why would there be something wrong in stealing? It just feels wrong because that's how we've been conditioned. So our conscious will not allow us to steal. But what is wrong in stealing?
There's one other question I had is, do you think that the law of karma is belief based? Like you have to really, in order for the law of karma to really have belief in it, you have to assume that there are multiple lives and all that, right? You have to think that. So would you
But
say that?
Kiki, all religions are based on that you have multiple lives. Otherwise, there won't be any religion.
No, no,
If
I
there is
agree
only
with
one
that, but I'm just saying, is it belief based? I agree with you that all religions are based
and
on that,
how
but
do you
that is
explain
not.
all the suffering around you? It is you can only explain on the basis of karma. Why I am in a good position and a person next to me, why is he in that situation?
I
So
agree with you that that is a good
that is
fit
the only
to the
answer,
problem.
plausible answer we can get. If we don't take bring karma into the accounts,
Hmm.
it's hard to answer all those questions.
That may be, and we can just sit with saying it's hard to answer all those questions and let it be. But I was just saying, is it would one say that the law of karma is belief based, or it's a theory to, like you are saying, Sanjay, it's a theory to fit this problem that we don't have an answer to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if law of karma is basically it's parts of it, the fact that okay, there's a future life and this happens, that is a little belief based. But otherwise, the law of karma is a corollary to the law of dharma. They're completely related. Meaning, it's saying that it's a sort of a experimental validation of the law of dharma. The law of dharma says move with the order. Dharma says go with the order. Do something which is good for the order. Law of karma says if you don't do something which is good for the order, it'll hurt you. That's what law of karma says. If you do something which is along with the order, it'll help you. Right? So that is law of karma. Now, if you add to it the fact that does something will happen in the future life and all of that, yeah, that part of it is belief based. But this part is just it's just a supplementation. It's the whole of the philosophy is that only that there is order. Ishwar is the core of the philosophy of Vedanta in the Vyavharika Drishti. That's the core. So there's Ishwar, that means there's order. Dharma is doing things which align with the order. Karma is knowing that if you do things which don't align with the order, you will suffer. Um, and and then it's defined everything, from there. From there on, it's belief. But this part is not belief. This part is just pure fact or knowledge. And the other thing I was going to say was the law of karma, but there is the law which also says, which is do karma not with an expectation of results, but to to strengthen yourself. Do the right thing um, to strengthen karma yoga. That is not a belief. That has to be experimentally seen, and you have to see what happens if you start doing action in a way which is not where you're not doing it for a particular result.
Yeah.
You're doing it. That is fact.
Right. Right. Yeah, that is fact because that also completely jives with human psychology.
Well, I mean, that's not the reason why it's a fact. Human psychology is a derived science. I don't know how
Yes,
much
maybe
detail
not
you know.
because it jives with it. It's a
And
fact and it's
I mean,
also
human
jives.
psychology is not the sort of
No, no,
the.
I agree.
No, no, I was just joking. Like I'm like talking like a true क्या कहते हैं, Orthodox Hindu. चलो, anything else? Shall we? अतुल, सो तो नहीं गया?
नहीं नहीं
Okay. So shall we call it a day?
Yeah. Yes.
ठीक है. So we'll meet in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then we'll actually go through.
actually
क्या अतुल?
they I won't be able to join you in 2 weeks, but yeah, I'll be in Death Valley.
Oh.
By yourself?
No, with a colleague of mine.
Let me just
I have
stop.
a meeting